ESPN reporting the Steelers are getting all-pro cornerback Jalen, Ramsey, and Pro Bowl tight end Jonnu Smith from the Miami Dolphins. And in exchange, star safety Minkah Fitzpatrick will be heading back to Miami, which is where he began his NFL career.
A franchise legend just called out the Steelers in a way nobody expected. The trade was bold, but Ben Roethlisberger's reaction was even bolder, and what he revealed has fans questioning everything. On his Footballin' podcast, Roethlisberger addressed what Steelers fans had been whispering for days. The trade looks bold. On paper, it's even exciting. Ramsey is a former All-Pro cornerback, and Smith is a reliable tight end. But Big Ben wasn't buying the hype just yet. In fact, he questioned whether these new faces could fill the shoes left behind, especially Fitzpatrick's.
I said, but you know what? We also traded Minkah away, and they were like,
that's the dude. That was the response of the city.
Floor, like it's the old cartoon, the jaw hits the floor. And then so he yells across the goal, Bodie, we just traded Minkah.
Roethlisberger didn't mince words. He made it clear that Minkah wasn't just another player. He was a culture guy, a leader in the locker room, and the kind of player who sets the tone even when the cameras aren't rolling. Trading him away, no matter who came in return, wasn't just about stats or contracts. It was about chemistry, identity, and the core of what makes the Steelers the Steelers. What made Roethlisberger's comments more impactful was how they contrasted with the front office's messaging. While Pittsburgh's leadership emphasized Ramsey's versatility and the excitement of new acquisitions, Roethlisberger was cautioning fans not to be fooled by flashy names. He pointed out that Ramsey may no longer be the shutdown corner he once was. Instead, he might be more suited for a slot or hybrid role, hinting at a possible decline. Roethlisberger wasn't throwing shade for the sake of controversy. He was tapping into something deeper. The Steelers had just given Ramsey a $1.5 million raise, pushing his 2025 salary to over $26 million. That's not the kind of money you spend unless you believe the player can anchor a defense, but Roethlisberger seemed to question whether the return matched what they gave up, especially considering Fitzpatrick's value as a playmaker and leader. This wasn't just about Jalen Ramsey either. Jonnu Smith's arrival also came under scrutiny. Smith has shown flashes of brilliance, but he's not a game-changing tight end week in and week out. Roethlisberger hinted that while these moves might help fill gaps, they don't automatically elevate the Steelers to elite status. The underlying message was clear. Big names don't win games, execution does. Beyond the personnel itself, Roethlisberger drew attention to the bigger issue: depth, consistency, real playoff potential. He mentioned that the Steelers have talent, no doubt, but questioned whether the entire roster was strong enough to go toe-to-toe with the top teams in the league. Losing a foundational piece like Fitzpatrick might create holes that no single trade can patch. And then came the most piercing insight. Roethlisberger said the team needed a reality check. That's a phrase that stings, especially coming from a former franchise quarterback who led the Steelers through both glory and grit. He wasn't just talking about X's and O's. He was talking about mindset. The idea that the Steelers have been convincing themselves they're contenders without truly earning it on the field. His commentary shined a light on what may be brewing beneath the surface in Pittsburgh. It's one thing to hype up off-season moves. It's another to translate that into success between the lines. The Steelers are making bold choices, taking risks, and placing big bets on veteran names. But Roethlisberger's voice served as a reminder that all of it could backfire if the team doesn't come together quickly.
Guys that are in there that know what it is, and you're bringing guys in that are one-year guys in here, maybe two-year guys that they know about the Steelers, the logo, but they don't really know it. They don't. It's not branded in.
So why does all of this matter now? Because timing is everything. Roethlisberger even said that by week 3 or 4, we'll have a much better sense of whether these trades actually moved the needle or just reshuffled the deck. If the defense is still finding its footing and the locker room feels the loss of Fitzpatrick, then all the headline-grabbing deals won't mean much.
Yes, but I think it's like, okay, we want to try and get one for some of these older guys on defense. And honestly, I think there's probably a little bit of everybody's got.
What Roethlisberger did was speak the quiet part out loud. He brought attention to the fact that even inside the Steelers' walls, there may be doubt, that the locker room may be wondering if the heart of the defense just walked out the door. And that concern can weigh heavier than any stat line or press release. The way he spoke about Minkah Fitzpatrick was particularly telling. He called him a guy who goes about his business, someone who leads without needing a spotlight. Those are the kinds of players that hold a team together during tough stretches. Losing him isn't just about missing interceptions or tackles, it's about losing the anchor, the steady presence that makes the team feel grounded. Now the pressure falls squarely on Ramsey and Smith to prove they're not just names, but difference makers, and on the coaching staff to build chemistry fast. Mike Tomlin, no stranger to navigating tricky transitions, will have to manage egos, expectations, and execution, all under the watchful eyes of fans who've seen legends come and go. The Steelers' schedule doesn't offer much grace either. Early matchups will demand top-tier performances, and if Ramsey can't lock down his role, or if the safety position becomes a revolving door, the problems Roethlisberger warned about could become very real, very fast. This situation also puts a spotlight on the Steelers' front office. General Manager Omar Khan has been praised for his aggressive strategy and salary cap wizardry, but aggressiveness doesn't always equal effectiveness. The decision to move Fitzpatrick and gamble on Ramsey and Smith will either be seen as visionary or reckless, depending on how the next few months unfold. Roethlisberger's candid take may not sit well with everyone in the organization, but it's the kind of honesty that fans respect. It shows that he still cares deeply about the team, about its identity, and about its direction. His voice carries weight, because he's been there in the huddle, in the locker room, and in the trenches of postseason battles.
That completely came out of left field. I mean, I just came out of lunch. Didn't expect that to happen. I thought Minkah would stay a Steeler pretty much for life.
As preseason nears and training camps intensify, the Steelers are entering a season unlike any in recent memory. They're not rebuilding, but they're not exactly established contenders either. They're in the in-between, the gray area where anything can happen and where leadership, or lack thereof, makes all the difference. Roethlisberger's words serve as a guidepost for what to watch. Will Ramsey adapt and lead in his own way? Can Smith be a reliable target and red zone threat? Will the defense gel or splinter without Fitzpatrick's presence? These aren't just questions for analysts. They're the realities the team must face head-on. Fans should be prepared for a season of discovery. There will be moments when these new acquisitions shine, but also moments when Fitzpatrick's absence is painfully obvious. That's the gamble the Steelers made, and Roethlisberger, even the competitor, wants them to be honest about it. Because pretending everything is fine won't help when adversity strikes, and in the NFL, adversity is never far behind. The hope is that the leadership left in the building players like Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, and even young talents like Joey Porter Jr. can step up and stabilize what's been shaken. But the shadow of Minkah Fitzpatrick will linger, especially if the defense falters early. Roethlisberger didn't question the move out of bitterness. He questioned it out of belief. Belief that the Steelers should never settle for looking good on paper. They should aim to dominate on the field. In the end, this isn't just about one trade. It's about identity. It's about whether the Steelers are still the same resilient, hard-nosed team that defined a generation, or whether they're morphing into something flashier but less consistent. The next few months will tell the story. And whether or not the team wants to admit it, Ben Roethlisberger has already given us the preview. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more no-nonsense takes on the biggest moves in the NFL. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with Roethlisberger's take, or are the Steelers headed in the right direction? Let's hear it from the fans.
Darren Waller coming out of retirement, traded to the Dolphins. Logan, wasn't expecting this one on the bingo card.
No, it's been some breaking news lately. Let me check my phone. Let me see if
anything else.
Do not disturb one. I want to see if the AFC North's going to call me to return to play here.
Darren Waller retired. Everyone thought he was done, but now he's back and traded to the Dolphins. Why did he return? Why did the Giants let him go? And what are the Dolphins really planning with this move? This story isn't just a comeback. It's a complete shock to the league. Darren Waller wasn't always a question mark. Just a few years ago, he was lighting up defenses with the Raiders. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in 2019 and 2020 put him among the league's elite tight ends. He had the size, speed, and hands. Everything you'd want from a modern offensive weapon. But then things changed.
It's all the reps, probably very limited.
Mariota throws, pass is caught. That's Waller.
Injuries piled up. Waller missed 14 games over 2 seasons. And when he landed in New York in 2023, he looks like a shadow of his former self. In 12 games with the Giants, he had just 52 receptions, 552 yards, and 1 touchdown. He was supposed to be the centerpiece for a rebuilding offense. He ended up being another injury story. By the start of summer 2024, Waller made it official. He was retiring. The decision followed reports of a serious medical episode the previous year. Fans wished him well. The Giants quietly moved on, but nobody expected what happened next. Fast forward to mid-2025. Miami's roster is in flux. They traded away Jonnu Smith, who had just posted a career year, and shipped off veteran corner Jalen Ramsey in a major move. Meanwhile, Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins' offense suddenly find themselves without a clear weapon at tight end. Then came the news. The Dolphins were bringing in Darren Waller, who, up until that moment, was retired. Waller signs a 1-year deal worth $5 million. The Giants receive a conditional 2027 draft pick in return. Just like that, a retired Pro Bowl tight end is back in the league and wearing teal. From New York's perspective, the move made sense. Waller's retirement had already cleared over $11 million in cap space. Even though they still held his rights, the Giants didn't expect him to play another down. When Miami called, they saw a chance to get something in return for a player they weren't counting on. A conditional 2027 pick isn't much, but it's more than nothing. The Giants didn't want the headache of managing Waller's status. They wanted clarity, and this trade gave them that. This is the real mystery. What changed? Just months after walking away, Waller had a change of heart. Maybe it was the itch to compete. Maybe it was the right team offering the right role. Or maybe Waller just didn't want his career to end on a whimper. He never made a huge public statement, but insiders say he'd been staying in shape, quietly training, watching films. If the right situation opened up, he was ready. And when Miami came knocking, it felt like fate. The Dolphins didn't throw money around blindly. They offered $5 million for 1 year, which is small change by NFL standards. For that price, they're getting a potential Pro Bowl caliber player. If Waller stays healthy, Miami could have one of the biggest steals of the season. But that's a big if. Waller is 32. He hasn't played a full season since 2020, and the last time we saw him, he looked worn down. Miami isn't betting on the 2019 Waller. They're hoping for a veteran who still has flashes of greatness left. Before the trade, Miami was left with little at tight end. Smith was gone. Young backups were unproven. Waller walks into the starting job if his body can handle it, but he's not alone. The Dolphins still boast a strong wide receiver group with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill stretching the field. That spacing could help Waller thrive underneath. He won't be asked to do everything, just win his matchups, move the chains, and be a red zone threat.
Loa under pressure, found a hole for Jalen Waddle, got a block and got free. Waddle with the speed, takes it inside the 30, keeps on going.
If Waller plays well, this becomes one of the league's biggest redemption stories. From battling addiction early in his career to becoming a breakout star, then falling into injury trouble, retiring, and now coming back. Every step of Waller's journey has been dramatic, and this latest chapter might be the wildest yet. He doesn't need to be a superstar again, but if he can stay healthy, catch 50 to 60 passes, and give Miami a reliable option at tight end, he'll have rewritten his legacy. The Dolphins already made headlines this offseason by trading for Minkah Fitzpatrick and moving on from some big names. Now they've added another twist with Waller. The AFC East is a crowded race with the Bills still seen as the favorite, but Miami is not far behind. Adding a veteran like Waller gives them a new dimension. He's experienced. He knows how to work the middle of the field, and if he finds chemistry with Tua early on, he could become a major part of their playoff push. Back in New York, the move was seen as a clean break. Waller's time with the Giants never lived up to the hype. Injuries derailed everything. But now, the team gets cap relief, a future draft pick, and full clarity. They can move forward with their young talent without the lingering questions around Waller. In some ways, it's the best-case scenario for both sides. The Giants don't lose much, and Waller gets a shot to play meaningful football again. Training camp will tell us a lot. Can Waller keep up with the pace? How's his conditioning? Will those nagging injuries resurface? Miami will monitor him closely, and fans will be watching every snap. If he starts slow, critics will pounce. If he flashes early, the hype will grow fast. Either way, this story is far from over. Darren Waller isn't just back, he's under the microscope. So what does it all mean? For the Dolphins, it's a bold move that could pay off in a big way. For the Giants, it's closure. For Waller, it's a chance to finish his story his way, not as a footnote, but as a fighter who came back swinging. And for fans, it's a reminder that in the NFL, anything can happen. One day you're retired, the next you're suiting up in a new city. Darren Waller's comeback is just getting started, and if he has his way, he'll be making headlines again by week 1. If you like this breakdown, hit like and drop a comment. Do you think Waller still has something left, or did Miami make a mistake chasing the past? Subscribe for more updates as this story unfolds.
We all agree Trey will be right? But technically, he's still 1% wrong for being under contract. So, in my case, I'm 100% right. So it should be a no-brainer. And in Trey's case, I think it should be a no-brainer too. I mean, he led 17.5 sacks for 2 years back-to-back. If I was the GM or I was the owner, take all my money. But I guess they don't operate like that. But
the Cincinnati Bengals just made sure their offensive firepower is locked and loaded. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Mike Gesicki are all in. So why does it feel like something's off? With all eyes on their high-powered offense, their defense is quietly slipping into crisis mode. Two of their most important players, Trey Hendrickson and rookie Shamar Stewart, haven't signed, and training camp is closing in fast. Could this be the crack that breaks a Super Bowl dream? Let's start with the offense because it's worth the praise. The Bengals paid Joe Burrow, their franchise quarterback, a record-breaking contract. They followed that by locking down Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, giving Burrow the chemistry and weapons he needs to go toe-to-toe with anyone. Mike Gesicki was added as a reliable tight end option. The offense is deep, explosive, and experienced. But while the front office took care of the stars on offense, the defensive side has become the elephant in the room. Trey Hendrickson, one of the league's most dangerous edge rushers, is entering a contract standoff. Hendrickson led the league in sacks last season with 17.5, made first-team All-Pro, and was headed to his 4th consecutive Pro Bowl. He is the cornerstone of this pass rush, a guy who can change the course of a game on one play. Despite his dominance, Hendrickson turned down a new deal that reportedly would have paid him nearly $28 million per year. At 30 years old, he wants long-term security, and he hasn't been shy about his frustration. He skipped all mandatory OTAs and minicamp, even risking fines well into 6 figures. The Bengals have yet to meet his asking price, and things remain quiet on both sides. The standoff is starting to look more like a warning sign than a negotiation. The Bengals' defense is structured around Hendrickson's ability to get to the quarterback. Without him, their secondary gets exposed. Last year, they gave up over 430 points. That's not the kind of stat line you can carry into the postseason. So, missing your best pass rusher, that's not just a hole, it's a crater. Now enter Shamar Stewart. The Bengals used their first-round pick to bring in the 6'5" edge rusher out of Texas A&M. The expectation was for him to line up opposite Hendrickson, learn from a vet, and eventually become a star himself. Instead, Stewart hasn't even signed his rookie deal.
The Cincinnati Bengals select Shamar Stewart, defensive end, Texas A&M.
He showed up for rookie minicamp. He was present during team events, but he didn't take a single snap. Stewart's holdout is all about contract language. Specifically, the Bengals have inserted clauses that could void future guarantees under certain conditions. Stewart's agents aren't asking for more money, just equal protection compared to other rookies across the league. So far, the team hasn't budged.
I can't say what I really want to say, but it's their contract. They can do what they want with it.
What's your communication with Zach Taylor been like through this process?
We talk here and there. We all agree Trey will be right? But technically he's still 1% wrong for being under contract. So in my case, I'm 100% right, so it should be a no-brainer. And in Trey's case, I think it should be a no-brainer too. I mean, he led 17.5 sacks for 2 years back-to-back. If I was the GM or I was the owner,